Hello everyone, this is Miss Cromwell and I'm here with this week's math homework help. Last week we introduced Unit 5, which is all about patterns. As far as the repeating patterns go, with shapes or colors, many students have been doing very well with that. One of the more difficult parts is when students need to figure out these number patterns. So that does make it a little more tricky. However, I think they're going to be all right. So here is Mondays. In class, we've been working a lot of these as far as, we use them with hundreds charts just because it makes it very simple. But you can see here for number 1, we have the following numbers. We have 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So we have to figure out which numbers come next. So with that, you got to figure out what the pattern is. So some students use their fingers. Some use the numbers chart. I wish I had brought one home so I could have oh my goodness, I could have shown you all what exactly I mean by hundreds chart. But regardless, one option is students can count up, students can subtract. Some students, so for example, we have 1, and then let's count to 3. So we have 1, and then here's some show work. I can put 2, 3. All right, well, how many times did you have to count to get to 3? 1, 2. All right, so 1 plus 2 is 3. Well, look here, we got 3 and then 5. Well, 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. So our rule for this pattern is adding 2. It's increasing. Students need to know that increasing pattern just means that the numbers are getting larger. Okay, it's growing, it's getting bigger. So if they're adding 2, what would be 9 plus 2? And students should be like, oh, it's 11. Right? Again, we want the pattern to continue. 11 plus 2 is 13. 13 plus 2 is 15. All right? I feel like number 2 is pretty self-explanatory. It's basically the same thing. But some get a little tricky. So I'm going to come down here to 6 and 7. All right? This is when either a numbered chart comes in handy or students can subtract. So right here, I want to figure out how much am I jumping. So I like to subtract since these are bigger numbers. Now, if it was a decreasing pattern, like the numbers were getting smaller, then we would do something different. But for right now, I can take the 22 and I can subtract the 11. So 2 minus 1 is 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. All right, so if I did 11 plus 11, which is this number we just had, we would get 22. All right, well, let's see. What is 33 minus 22? So same thing, 33 minus 22. 3 minus 2 is 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. Oh, hold on. I think my rule might be add 11, which this one is. Okay, so 33 plus 11 is 44. 44 plus 11 is 55. 55 plus 11 is 66. 66 plus 11 is 77. Okay. All of these are overall pretty self-explanatory. Students are going to find a few that just get a little tricky, which is why it's just important for them to slow down, use their strategies, whether it is like subtraction or like up here, how I added, and then I circled how many numbers did I write down. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'll do the same thing right here for number 7. So if I'm at 9, I need to figure out how many do I get to 19. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay? So how many numbers did I add to get to 19? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 9 plus 10 is 19. Okay? So I prefer for students to do multiples before they're like, oh, that's your rule. Because in third grade, there's going to be many times where it changes. Okay, and it's not always something that simple. So, but however, this one is add 10. So if I had 39 plus 10, 49, plus 10, 59, plus 10, 69. So that is what we're doing. Us teachers should be able to see how they have the rule. Okay, we want to see that they figured this out. I know I have some parents who had asked about calculators. However, in third grade, students are not permitted to use calculators, and teachers are not able to help, unfortunately. All right, so that was Monday's math. Tuesday's math looks a little bit like this, and it's just a raise. It's just a review. Students are going to see this specific skill all year long. All right, so that's all they're doing. However, I want to do a little different. I do want to see students writing the numbers on the sides and on top for their arrays. For example, on this side you have 1, 2, 3, so I want to see 3. Over how many are on top? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so this is number 1. Now, if students don't write it over here, that's fine. They could write it underneath. So you could say 3 times 5 equals, and then we would add these all up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 3 times 5 is 15. So if students want to write it here, fine. If students are, preferring to write it over here, that's fine too. Not too picky on this one. Okay. But that's what we're doing for all of these. I'm going to do number 11 as a second example. So again, how many down? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many across? 1, 2. So again, they can either choose 5 times 2 equals, and you're going to add these, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Or, since this is number 11, you come over here to number 11 and do 5 times 2 equals 10. Okay? So either is fine, but that is how we do this page. On Wednesday, this is a repeating pattern, but it's also growing. Okay? So again, students do need to know what a growing pattern is. It's an increasing pattern. Okay? So they got to figure out what is it increasing by and how. So for A, we start with this square, which is a circle. Well, next we have the circle with the square, but then we have one to the right. All right, well, now I have the same thing, and I'm right here, but now I have one to the left, or on top, sorry. I'm going to take this and put it right here, and what's added? One's over here. Okay, so it keeps going, right? So I took this part, and I put it right here on top. What was added? This piece right here. So when we get to this one, all right, well, if I started originally and I added to the right, all right, so from here, put that same shape here, and then I'm going to add one more to the right. So that's what this shape's here, and again, back here, we went from the right to the top, to the left to the bottom. Right here, right to the top. So this next one, because it says draw the next shape in the pattern, we want to put it to the left. Now, we are not looking for this to be perfect, okay? So for like this one, I know it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to do like something like this. 1, that's 2, 3, 4. Let's see, there's a circle. There's one there. There we go, good enough. It's not perfect, but it works. So how is this different? Well, we went one here, and then we did one here. Now we're going to put one here. So that is what we're looking for. And so they're all a little trickier, but this is something they are going to see very similar on their assessments next week. Okay, so same thing. We start one to the right, but then we do one on top. Round to the right, and so, then add one on top. One to the right, and then add one on top. So for this one, the next one would be you add it to the right. So if we already had 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. That was this one. And we had 3 on top. 1, 2, 3. So again, we went right and then the top. Right and then the top. Right and then the top. So this one would go to the right. This one's very similar. We started out with a square and then we went to left. That's the left, that was the bottom. And then we added another one underneath and then over here. Alright, so we did that one and then we did the next one. And then we did this one. So if you're looking at it, right, we started here and we're going around. Okay, so this next one would just be getting added right there. So however it is easiest for your student to draw these. Again, we're not expecting them to be like amazingly perfect, but we do expect it to be pretty, like we could tell what you added. Okay, so like what I just drew was the original, and then I needed to add one more, which is where that one would go. Okay, these are difficult for some students who have a hard time visualizing, but that's why I added this in the homework, because I was hoping it was going to help. Okay, if I look at E, it's another one. We started with this, but then we did the top. All right, we did the top, and then add the bottom. Top, bottom. So, top, the next. It's weird, because now that I'm looking at it, I keep seeing it different ways. But just ask them to try your best. I personally feel like this one's a little bit harder than normal, but either way, your student, they're going to see one very similar on our assessment next week. This next one is a great review of bar graphs. Okay, I always have students to always double check, does it have your TLC? Because every single graph has to have TLC. What is T? Well, that is your title, and that's right there, Jumbo Bag Fruit O Candy. So check, I got the title. Next is labels. Well, this is a label, number of pieces, and this is a label, flavors. Do we have a label? Yes. And then lastly is categories, and that's these. This is cherry, lemon, watermelon, and strawberry. So check. Again, it doesn't matter to us whether you just write, your student writes the answer underneath each question, or if they put it here, or both. Whichever, as long as it's accurate. But if it requires show work, you still do need to provide that. Okay? So for number 1, it says, how many more watermelon pieces were there than cherry pieces? So when we're asking how many more of something than something else, we are comparing, which means we are subtracting. So first we would need to go to watermelon. Watermelon, it's here, it goes to the 50. So watermelon's 50. And then cherry. So if I go to cherry, come up, and that's at 30. So 50 minus 30, 0 minus 0, 0, 5 minus 3 is 20. So again, they can either do this right there is fine, or write the 20 over there. But we have to see this work. Okay. Number 2, what is the combined number of watermelon and strawberry? So ask your student, what are we doing? Are we adding, subtracting, whatever? If it says combined, we are adding. So we want watermelon and strawberry. Again, I should have mentioned this earlier. I personally feel like it's easier before you even read all these to go ahead and write down how much each has. So like cherry went to 30. So I would just write 30. Lemon went to 20. Watermelon up here at 50. And then strawberry all the way at the top, and it has 90. So that way I don't have to keep double checking. Okay, so now what is the combined, which means I'm adding, number of watermelon? That's here, it's 50. And strawberry. Strawberry's right here, it had 90. So 50 plus 90. 0 plus 0, 0. 9 plus 5 is 14. Carry your 1. 1 plus nothing is 1. So I got my show work and an answer. Okay. Some don't have show work, right? Like number 4, which flavor had the fewest pieces in the bag. Well, then your student needs to know that fewest means the smallest, which would be lemon. So again, they can either choose to write it on, like, underneath each question, or that was number 4, put it over here. Okay, but it's pretty self-explanatory. If you have any specific questions, definitely ask us. These are very similar to questions that we will see on assessments, especially the ones that you have to add and subtract. Those are very popular. But then you have like questions like, number 6, which flavor had exactly, so not rounded, not close to, but exactly 30 pieces in the bag. Well, you'll see that's cherry. So on number 6, you would write cherry. And again, either there or up here, it really does not matter. Okay. Since we did math pretty quick, I was going to look at some of the reading one. This was just a quick little story element, which I'm looking for. There we go. Put it on the wrong side. I apologize. So this one is called The Winter Caper. And then so students would read the passage. And then down here it says, match each word from the story to its synonym. Please ask your child, what does synonym mean? It's a very popular question on many assessments and tests that will take the whole school year. So for synonym, we are looking for the same. Okay. So over here we have tradition, twinkling, identity, thief, anxious, and hollow. And then over here we have name, whole, excited, custom, robber, and sparkling. So we do want the students to be able to read the passage to get those, but then they're just gonna match, right? So like hollow would mean whole, tradition is your customs, twinkling is like sparkling, identify is name, and I just think I called that identity earlier, so oops, sorry. Thief means like a robber, and then anxious is excited. So that's that. And then, it just goes on. Over here it says like draw a line to identify each story element. So we have characters, setting, problem, and solution. So we have these options. The light bulbs from a sign keep disappearing. Alicia's family is squirrel. Alicia's house in the front yard. And Alicia sets up a video and discovers that a squirrel's taking the light bulbs. So you can ask yourself, okay, characters, which of these is characters? You should say like, oh, it's Alicia's family, and a squirrel. Just draw a line. Which of these talks about a setting? Well, that's Alicia's house in the front yard. Next is your solution. Oh, sorry, I missed one. Problem. What was the problem? Well, there's a problem if the light bulbs from a sign keep disappearing. So I'm going to draw it. And then lastly, solution. Alicia sets up a video camera and discovers that a squirrel is taking the light bulbs. Okay, so that is how we are solving these. Over here, just put the events in order. Write 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 next to each one. Please make sure that your student is going back to the passage and locating those, because that's going to be the only way for them to get it correct. What I highly suggest is on here, I would ask your students to go ahead and label or identify the paragraph. So like right here, because it indents, that's going to be paragraph 1. Right? I'm just going to group this into paragraph 2 and then 3. That's a big paragraph 4, and then down here I would say 5. Okay? So it doesn't have to be perfect, but this way I know what your kiddo is looking at and how they got their answers, because that's what's really going to help. And then Wednesday is, another small passage. It is a 3rd grade reading level. We have 5 comprehension questions, but we need to make sure your students are writing incomplete sentences. For number 1, it says, why is it a bad idea to lie to your friends? A complete sentence would be something like, it is a bad idea to lie to your friends because... And then looking up here, give me some information. Like, tell me something from the passage. If your student is just making up stuff as they go, they're doing it wrong. Sorry to tell you. Okay. Up here, like number 2, or down here, sorry, says, how does it feel when someone lies to you? Well, that one's going to be like an own personal opinion. So they could say, I feel sad or mad when someone lies to me. I don't know, maybe some of them feel happy. Who knows? Okay. So that is that page. And then we got one more passage, and this is the Winter Wonderland. This is a good one because it does have some other more comprehension questions. But example A says, who woke up to a snowy sight outside their window? Do not just say their names, right? Don't just put Oliver and Mia. It should be a complete sentence, which this one happens to be being very similar. On this line, we would write, Oliver and Mia woke up to a snowy sight outside their window. So your student will be writing all that. If you have any questions on anything, or maybe your kiddo is having a hard time and you need a number line, oh my goodness, a hundreds chart sent home for your students to better use for homework, we can easily accommodate that. I just need to know. But I hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll talk to y'all soon.